lighter-than-air aircraft are going to be making a big comeback. That's the news later in this podcast. I'm Pete, and right next to me is Maggie. And we are going to be going through in our podcast some interesting things. We're going to bring some common sense to bear, aren't we, Maggie?
Possibly. Well, maybe from me. I don't know. I can't speak for you, I'm afraid.
Oh, it's like that, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's leap straight into this. We've got a few articles. We're going to put them on the screen for you to see on your screen. This is what we're reading from. We're going to talk about these interesting things that we've selected to talk about this week on the Maggie plus Pete podcast. Well, here we have modern zero emissions dirigible. This is reported on the Good News Network, which sources news stories from around the world. It's really useful. Look at this. That looks like a good way to travel,
doesn't it? It looks really swish. I kind of fancy that. I'm not sure the branding cigars are that attractive to me, but it does look pretty. I like those chairs. I think I want to get one. Why haven't you got me a chair like that to sit in? I've got a hard chair here.
I think it says in this article, not just I think, I know it says later in the article that it's the design that's really caught people's eye. Just read a little bit of it. Royalties and dignitaries, brandy and cigars, grey lady giant of the skies, you hold them in your arms. That's talking about dirigibles by Bruce Dickinson. It's not every day that GNN starts a story, that's the Good News Network, with a quote from an Iron Maiden song. Oh, that's who Bruce Dickinson is. I said written by Bruce Dickinson.
Didn't you know? Didn't you know? You had no idea. Did you actually read that? I skipped ahead and thought, that must be an Iron Maiden.
I didn't read that. I read to the bit about.
In fact, I'm a bit disappointed that you didn't sing the song.
We'll see. Yeah,
you probably have to shout it. Royalty and dignitaries.
Yes, I think yes. I'm not.
Actually, I have no idea.
Although of course,
go back and listen to it later.
Although of course, on this show we're big fans of Iron Maiden. I'm not familiar with that particular song. Now, hybrid air vehicles, not reading it very well, are within 4 years of their first planned commercial flight of the Airlander 10, a hybrid electric airship that produces 75% fewer emissions per mile travelled than a passenger jet.
Do you think you have to plug it in the air? Do you think there's like a really long wire down to somebody?
Now, when it says hybrid, I'm not quite sure what it means, I have to say. I didn't look this up. Hybrid electric, I think, means hybrid in the same sense like a Prius car, that it's some sort of fossil fuel and electric. I think that's right. That's what they're saying.
Oh, okay.
Designed just for short hops on oft-taken business trips, like also to Stockholm or Liverpool to Belfast. It offers the Greta Thunbergs of this world a chance to return to the convenience of air travel, referring, of course, to one of the great spokesmen for green madness in the country. You know, the idea that the Earth is warming, true, due to the fact that there's too much carbon dioxide. False. It's strange that they should be seeing this. You see the angle they've taken here, Maggie. They say that the angle is that it's green.
Yeah, well, but I was thinking, I don't know how sort of polluting the Birkenhead to Belfast ferry is, for example. But it strikes me you might be able to get a lot more people on that Stena ferry, and so it didn't look like there was that many people going to be in that airship. So
it's comparing it to flights. Like here we have, according to HAV, a jet from Seattle to Vancouver amounts to 55 kilograms of CO2 per passenger, while an Airlander 10 drops that number to about 4.12 kilograms, less even than rail travel. So it is comparing it to other forms of travel.
Yes, I mean rail travel is. I mean, you'd have thought you could get quite a lot
far more.
Train. Yeah.
Per mile, but it says per passenger.
Per passenger, yeah. That's saying
it's just less passengers. Yeah,
but the whole. I agree with you about the whole premise of it, because I think that, well, I don't really want to go down the whole CO2 causes global warming thing right now.
Well, no, we just toss it out. Because I think that a lot of people believe it.
I think that the evidence is rather weak for that. But I think the thing that would attract me is that it looks really cool, and you would get a great view.
Surely it's that. There's there's possibly the quietness of it. You've got
Yeah, I bet it would be
engines,
quite
but not
quiet.
a jet engine.
Is it got helium or something in it?
It's helium. Ever since the days of is it the R101? Perhaps people can correct us in the chat or in the
But
comments
was it?
after.
It was a
Uh,
hydrogen one that
that
exploded,
was
wasn't it?
hydrogen that exploded. Yes. Now there were a couple of problems with that. With the disaster of that, and I believe actually was to do with the hydrogen, and then the sort of the covering on the actual balloon bit, the dirigible bit itself, caught fire. I think that's what happened. But the spark in the hydrogen, of course, can cause an explosion, and it's got a bad name, so they use helium. Helium isn't as light. So
But,
therefore,
I mean,
you need more of it. You need to have a bigger dirigible because
But
helium's
what I'm
light.
wondering is, I mean, how accessible is helium? I mean, how easy is it to
There's
get
a lot
helium?
on the sun.
Sorry, there's a lot on what?
A lot on the
The
sun.
sun. Sorry, I didn't misheard that. I was like, I thought you said there's a lot on my bum, so that was a bit of a.
Well, no.
You never know. You never know.
Maybe other gases, but that's. No,
but I was just wondering, I wonder if that's factored in, like how to get hold of the helium. Is that factored in?
Yeah. Well, and the expense of it and the
Yeah, because it's
storage of
quite,
it.
when you store it, it's quite heavy containers, and they have to be presumably moved from one place to another or
I'm
whatever.
moving up. I just want to look here because you commented at the start. We were talking about the design. It says it's here in the blue part here. It's the concept art of the cabin arrangements that really bring the old European idea of dirigible travel alive again, with luxurious couches, tables, bars, workstations, and food service. I mean, this is the thing, because it's lighter than air. Overall, you can have a big area. Like with an aeroplane, you're kept in flight by how fast you travel and the aerofoil on the wings, aren't you? So you need to limit the space and limit the weight. You could have something reasonably heavy, but more importantly, you can have something as big as you like. You don't need to have it streamlined as a jet
But I
aircraft.
mean, like, does it say how fast it goes? I mean, is it? It strikes me that you wouldn't want to go that quick in it.
I
What
don't
about
think it will go that quick. No, well, I
Is it
don't know. I
is it-
don't have it.
Are they
Let me just.
stable as well? Are they? Like, would you be like feel
Are they going to
seasick
be
in it, or is
blown?
it really? Yeah,
I
I mean,
believe. Well, I believe they. I don't know about the. What do they call it when it rocks from side to side? The yaw and something when a boat.
yeah,
I can't
that's
remember.
what I'm
Well,
thinking. It's like
yeah,
your
whatever
trip
the
slide
term
across
is.
the table or
When
something,
when it goes from side to side, or possibly gets moved by a gust of wind. But I think as to it going up and down, what they do is now I looked up how they work, how blimps work here. Right. Let me make this slightly bigger. Yeah, lighter than aircraft. Now I'm just going to scroll down. Bear with me. Here you might be able to see the top line there. A blimp or airship controls its buoyancy in the air, much like a submarine does in water. I have to admit, until I looked into this, I didn't know how they worked, and also I didn't know that I wanted to know. But now I'm interested. Look, they you know how submarines work. So you have tanks on the side. And you fill them with water to go down, and you pump air in to get back up again. Helium has air-filled containers like that. Sometimes they're solid, and sometimes they're bags a bit like a balloon inside the balloon. And they get filled when they get filled with air. It keeps it down. So when it's on the ground, they're filled with air. Then they pump the air out. So and then helium is displacing it, so it's lighter. So it goes up, and then you angle your sort of your vanes on the side, and you have your engines blowing back, with propellers, and you angle yourself up. So you're just a little bit only a little bit lighter than air, but you're being pointed upwards and pushed in that direction by the propellers. That's how it gets up, and they then control how much air is in. They let some air back in, displacing the helium to make it so that it's neutral buoyancy. I think it says there, in bold in the middle, neutral buoyancy. So if I just read it about here, adding air makes the blimp heavier, just in the middle there. Adding air
Yeah.
makes the blimp heavier, so to maintain a steady cruising altitude, the pilots must balance the air pressure with the helium pressure to create neutral buoyancy. To level the blimp in flight, the air pressures between the fore and aft ballonets are adjusted. So they cruise like, so it's not going to jump up and down because it's the right pressure to keep it at that level. That's how I understand it anyway. And then
Yeah.
to go back down, you just simply put air back in again. Interesting. I never knew that. But you have to put, it's only slightly heavier, so you have to point it down. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. So anyway, let's go back to
Well, you learn something new every day.
well, that's the picture.
Oh, that looks nice.
It does look great, doesn't it? That's
you could live in there.
There's a
That's
video.
a video.
Yeah, let's just see what it looks like. I'm just going to fast forward, ladies and gentlemen. Look, we can see some beautiful shots there. Yeah, I'm suspecting that it's not actually moving. As
You
it's
think
not
it's a
real yet.
simulation?
Yes. But it does look great, doesn't it? Look at all that room you'd have.
Ooh,
You've got a full bed. Yeah, you can sleep in there.
You could live in there.
Let's skip ahead again, everyone. Just have a look. Yep. There
Has
we
it got a shower? Oh no, that's champagne.
Oh, that's the champagne cooling, just as important. Yeah.
Oh,
Well, let's stop that there. Just obviously, it's just a simulation, but that's interesting. That's you. I think we know where our next holidays go. I know it's in a few years' time.
I noticed that
I'd love to go in.
At the end of that article, it said that guy from Iron Maiden had invested a lot of money in the company, so it was appropriate. It had Iron Maiden quoted at the beginning because he's investing in it.
So this is the site. If you want to look up where I got this article from, just in closing, I'd like to give them a shout out. Goodnewsnetwork.org. They have their own blog and everything. They're great. It's fascinating and sometimes funny stories from around the world. We've got something else to talk about that though now, haven't we? We're going to talk about.
I think we're going to talk about my favourite subject.
Let's just bring up the article, shall we?
Yeah, running.
Yeah. So this was an article you were looking at. So what's this all about?
Well,
tell me when you want me to scroll up. That's the thing.
Scroll up because I haven't actually read it. No, I have.
Oh.
No, I'm just joking. Basically, it was a study. Scroll up. I think it's in the British Journal of Sports Science or something like that, where they had looked at.
Look, I'm not registered, so I can't read all that.
I don't know how I managed to look at it. Anyway, it was in the British. I think it's. Let me just check. I've got it on my. Wait. I got it on the phone. Oh, where did I put the phone? Here it is.
Yeah, let me. I've simply got the opening paragraph here. Running for any amount of time leads to a significant lower risk of death, according to new research covering more than 230,000 people.
Yes. So I think they got together 14 separate studies, and they had a look at them over a 35-year period or something. It was quite a long time, and they found that even at a relatively minimal, British Journal of Sports Medicine, sorry, they found that even at looking at over, even if you didn't do that much running, it said something like, like if you just even run. Much less than sort of prescribed thing. I think the WHO say you should do 150 minutes of exercise or moderate exercise every week. Well, some people just like running a half an hour once a week or something like that. But any sort of amount of running, even if they were running slowly, reduced the risk of death by quite a large amount. It was something for cancer. It's something like 23%. For heart disease, I can't remember. It was something like 25%. It was quite a lot. I think it was overall. It's something like 27% decrease in the risk of dying just by running. Now, what they weren't really able to do, and it is always difficult to do this because you don't really have a proper control group. So if you think about who's going to be running, the people who are going to be running are probably got a more healthy lifestyle anyway. Yeah. So they weren't saying per se that it was the running that was the thing, but it was the interesting fact that all the people, if you split them up, running and non-running, then there did seem to be this correlation. As we know, correlation is not necessarily causation, but it was quite a significant amount of difference. So, but I was wondering really why that would be. I looked into, not just for this article, but other times I've looked into some of the effects of running, and it can really boost your immune system. It's like your
Yep.
muscles produce different chemicals and stuff like that, which actually help fight infection and just help your generally your immune system. And that's important for a number of reasons. One is it's not just infection that is important for the immune system. It's also things like cancer. Your immune system recognizes anything that's different from your normal body. So you kind of in the same way you might have a virus or bacteria infecting your body. If you've got a cancer cell, your immune system says, that's different, and it attacks it.
Yeah.
So
So I believe, just
boosting
to
your immune
I
system is really
believe I
good.
have it. I have it up now. Yes, I took it off the screen just to quickly register
All right,
while
cool.
you were talking.
Did you
So I
register?
was
All
listening
right,
to
cool.
it. So
You were paying
this
attention. You never
I
normally
was
pay
I
attention,
was
so
listening.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway,
So it's
scroll
got
down a
some.
bit because
Is there a
scroll
bit
down
you'd
a
like
bit
to
because
read out?
yeah,
I mean, you
no,
summarised it for
it was
people, but
basically so during that period, about a tenth of the people died. 25,951 people died. Scroll down a bit more because it just basically is saying what the difference was. Yeah, so here, even small amounts of running, such as 50 minutes once a week or less, even at slow speeds, was still associated with benefits. So
yeah,
it was 30% lower risk of death from heart disease and 23% lower risk of death from cancer. So that's quite a lot. So you can understand the cardiac thing because you're making your heart and everything, blood and that go around your body. So you can understand the cardiovascular side of it. But I think the cancer is interesting, and I think that I think that it's related to this this thing about your basically running in every way boosts your immune system. Not necessarily
right.
if you run really really hard, then actually just temporarily your immune system you're a little bit at risk of catching infection,
Yes,
but
yeah.
generally it just boosts your immune system. But yeah, you see that they say yeah, it's not just they can't say it's definitely the running because it's like people's lifestyle, things that they eat and stuff is going to
Yeah.
be different if you're running.
Is it the running, or is it the sort of person who's likely to
Who,
go running is
yeah,
healthier anyway in the rest of their lifestyle? I guess that's it.
yeah, there's that.
Interesting. I noticed this thing here where it says they warn that increasing the amount of running did not lower the risk of deaths further.
Okay, yeah, there's been quite a lot of studies looking at that type of thing, and there's been you sometimes see things in the paper. Running's bad for you. Running too much is bad for you.
Mm,
But I think the general consensus is that it's not really the case. You if you run too much and you get injured or something like that, obviously that's not great. But generally speaking, running further doesn't harm you. There may be an optimal amount of running to do, but
mm.
it's kind of a bit of a myth as most people aren't going to be running at that level, and in elite athletes they don't tend to die
Now
more
here you can
quickly.
tell this is a medical person writing it, regardless of its dose, a dose of running. Increased rates of participation in running, says Professor Zelchko.
Yes,
There are too many consonants in that
that is a
word
lot of that's a
for an
difficult word
English
to read.
person to say. Yeah. Anyway, regardless, increased rates of participation in running, regardless of its dose, would probably lead to substantial improvements in population health and longevity. Now, our Prime Minister, the esteemed Boris Johnson, he was encouraging people to run at one point.
He seems to have
Certainly,
given up, but well, I don't know if he's
yeah.
given up. I just don't
Well,
see it. But I saw
he
Matt
hasn't been
Hancock
going on
out
about it.
running. I mean, I know I did see him out
I mean,
running. I mean, like
I have to
around
say, yeah, no,
my
he
house.
does run, and Boris Johnson cycles and runs. Now, we might criticise them for other things, but they do try and encourage a healthy lifestyle, don't they? Being in there, using their high-profile position to encourage people to be fit. I mean, that's not a bad
Yeah.
thing.
No, it's
Uh,
not a bad thing, and I think that actually the
I think
government have
that's the
been
article. Yeah,
yeah, I think the government have been relatively supportive of
scroll back
trying to
up.
get
So we got a picture of
um
people running. There we go.
yeah trying to get park run started again because the park run organisers so the park run, if you're not aware of it, it's like it's a free 5K run on a Saturday morning. You just like go to a local park and you can just run. But so the organisers of that were hoping to open up like beginning of June, well,
Mm.
like this Saturday probably, I think it was. Um, and they've had to delay it because they didn't get permission from certain councils or landowners, and actually the government were quite supportive of that. So yeah, in their favour, I think they are relatively supportive of exercise, And and also, I mean, like when we first locked down for COVID, they were like saying you can go out for an hour's exercise, and people sort of understood that to mean go out for an hour's exercise. And we have seen a lot of people, more people sort of out walking
Yes.
around and
Yeah,
stuff.
but that's true. It's something that we've observed. I guess there must be stats out there somewhere, or maybe they're coming. A survey.
And somebody will have a survey.
Yes. Yeah, looking forward to that. But yeah, that's interesting. Running. So get out running, everyone, if you're not running already. And you don't have to run very far, just have to make sure you get out there. I guess that's what it's saying.
They seem to be running in the rain there, though. I'm not saying I don't recommend running in the rain, but I try to avoid running in the rain.
Well, yeah. I mean, I would say, yes, try and make it as pleasant as possible so that you keep doing it. I mean, yeah, buy some good shoes, wear stuff that you feel good in, or maybe you even look good in, and it encourages you to get out. Yeah, and don't go when it's freezing cold and wet if you can help it, because you won't want to go again, will you? It'd be a horrible experience.
I wouldn't start.
I don't feel like it today.
I once bought a bike and I was determined to cycle it to work every day. And I think I got it in January or something. It was like the worst possible time to start cycling to work. It's cold and wet and dark and miserable. But anyway.
Moving swiftly on to our next topic. My job is as a vicar in the northwest of England, which is it's actually in Chester Diocese where I am. And Chester Diocese, it's a picture of these two people I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, how come you aren't in those photographs?
Well, these two people are about to become bishops. There were three bishops. The sort of the main bishop, the Bishop of Chester, who is like a Lord Bishop, as in he's in the House of Lords, and he has two sort of assistant bishops. They're named after different areas, Birkenhead and Stockport. And if I just scroll up, I think you can see more clearly. It says Bishop Designate Julie. That's one on the left. And if I scroll down further, Bishop Designate Sam. So these two people are about to be bishops. Let me say the Venerable Julie Canolti, currently Archdeacon of Tunbridge, will be the next Bishop of Birkenhead. And the Reverend Canon Sam Corley, currently Rector of Leeds Minster, will be the next Bishop of Stockport. Downing Street have announced. Why Downing Street? Because, Downing Street is where the Prime Minister is, and he actually appoints them on behalf of the Queen, because it's the established church, it's the state church. So when you get a new bishop, they're actually appointed in that way. They don't become bishops in that way. Bishops in the Church of England are consecrated. I think it's the only bit of the Anglican community anyway that calls it that. Consecrated, when you become a bishop, make certain promises. You have the Holy Spirit. You pray for the Holy Spirit to descend on you, and lo and behold, you take on this job, and you become a bishop empowered with the Spirit. That is what the prayer is. Now, these two people, I would say, just want to say the outset, I just want to discuss it a little bit. But first, I particularly think Sam's picture may not do him justice.
I was wondering that. Yes,
he looks like he wasn't quite ready.
He looks like he's about to say something. He's like,
yeah.
No,
don't take it yet. Yeah. Now, Julie, on the other hand, is smirking. It looks like she's ready for that.
She looks like she's ready.
No, she's had her hair done.
Yes,
looking nice. So actually, both of them look neat. I say they've made an effort. Let's put it that way.
They do look quite nice. I was wondering. No,
they also look nice. They've got They look like they're friendly. I've never met either of them. I don't know any.
I could probably get away with asking this rather sort of sexist question, I suppose. But women bishops now.
Yes.
What short hair? Do you have to have short hair to be a woman bishop?
Well, I don't know if I got a picture. I wanted to look at Julie Canolti a bit, because you don't have to have short hair, although I noticed that they do. It's interesting. A lot of clergy seem to have short hair, and I wonder whether it's a practical thing, because a lot of churches, in their style of worship, involves the bishop taking on and priests and other clergy take on and off lots of different bits of clothing, and I wonder. I don't know. It's a theory. Maybe
could be very practical. Yes,
maybe it's very practical. I don't know. I thought there was another picture of her here. This is the Wikipedia page for her. She is a British Anglican priest. She has been the Archdeacon of Tunbridge, and I believe it then goes on to say, here we are, Episcopal ministry. That just means bishop ministry On the 27th of May, it was announced that Canolti would be the next Bishop of Birkenhead, a suffragan, which sort of means assistant. That's the meaning of it. In the Diocese of Chester, no date for her consecration has been announced, but yes, she's coming soon. So
does that mean we get to meet her because we're near
we're in her
Birkenhead?
area. We're near Birkenhead, and it means she'll be coming round to visit. But of course, I mean, almost certainly I'll go to the consecration if invited. There's been, it used to be you could fit a lot of people in Chester Cathedral where she'd be consecrated by the bishop, but the main bishop. But I'm not sure that's going to happen. They reordered the whole cathedral to make it, so that you can have social distancing, or maybe it's anti-social distancing. I'm not sure, but they may well be delaying the consecration to get past that date. You
Oh yeah, they might leave it till after June 21st.
Yes, you could have a big celebration there. Now, I just wanted to talk about this, you see, because it does actually make a big difference who your leaders are. You can sort of poo-poo it.
So what sort of
so these two leaders,
sort of theology do they have?
I don't know anything about them. That's the thing. I know nothing about them, and it's going to make a big difference. This is all I have is information in front of me here. So it says here that she trained in Southeast Institute for Theological Education and was ordained deacon. So that's when you have that, when it says Southeast Institute, that's normally, I don't know if it is, but it's normally that sort of institution is on the job training, like part-time, part-time in college. So that sounds quite good to me. That sounds someone who's very practical and might have some good experience.
So when was she ordained?
I'm talking particularly about her because Birkenhead's
she's going to be ours, yeah.
Yeah, she's going to be consecrated. Now, in fact, the previous bishop of Chester, anyway, regarded those two area bishops as being for the whole of Chester. But in practice, of the diocese, in practice, people who were near Birkenhead saw the Birkenhead one as their bishop, and so it worked out like that. I imagine it will again. So yeah, she's where was she? She was ordained slightly before me. You can see on the right here it says she was ordained priest in 2000. For me, it was 2003.
Okay.
So yeah, she's well, you remember you were there. So yeah, she's been a member of the synod, so she's got some sort of experience. It doesn't look like I mean, that's quite a time, isn't it? Sometimes what I'm fearful of is you've had someone who's been fast tracked and gone in, but you seem to, that's 20 years, over 20 years of experience. So that's looking good. I don't know, let's we'll report back to you here on this.
We've met her.
Where we've actually met her. I just want to bring this up because it's a new person, and the people who are in the lead like that, they can set a tone. Of course, they're not making all the decisions, and in fact, local vicars do have quite a bit of autonomy. So it's not going to be, as important as it might be if there were a fixed hierarchy, but as there is in some churches. But the Bishop of Chester has more of a direct authority over in my job. They will have a sort of a delegated authority from him. But here's the thing: when in the church, bishops are meant to teach the faith. One of their main jobs is promoting the faith. So I wonder how good they are at that. And I wonder how good Julie is at that. Certainly, she looks very approachable, so she might be great.
Yeah, she kind of looks like she might be fun, I have to say.
Yeah,
but you can't tell. You can't tell.
No, she's smirky slightly. But just one other thing on this. Some people listening might be thinking, but hang on, women bishops, is that really allowed? Doesn't the Bible tell us that there shouldn't be women bishops? In fact, doesn't the Bible say that a woman shouldn't really preach? She shouldn't have authority over a man in different verses in the Bible. That would apply, of course, equally people for priests, wouldn't it? Any sort of leadership in the church where you'll have leadership over men. And there's mixed. There's a mixture of opinions on this. The Bible does. It's quite true that the Bible does teach that women shouldn't have authority over men, and they should keep quiet in church. Is also said in the Bible. So I'm not. No, there are reasons why I think that doesn't apply. But what are your thoughts? I mean, I know We've talked about this before.
I'm,
But what do you think about
I don't.
priests? What about
I'm not
bishops?
allowed. I'm not allowed to have an opinion. So because I'm a woman,
What?
so I'm not
Yeah.
saying anything.
Yes, that's true. Good. Well done, wife. Good. I know the. What do you think about women bishops? I don't think we ever talked specifically about bishops.
I suppose I'm a bit maybe old-fashioned and maybe controversial in my thinking, but
Mhm.
in general, I'm not sure that I think it's a great idea for a woman to be in that position. I'm not saying for all women, because some women, I think, they are really very good. But just being a woman myself, and having kids and running a family and running a household and trying to do a job at the same time, I'm not sure that you can give it the level of attention, or give the job the level of attention that you could as a man. Now, you could say, well, the man could take on the household responsibilities, but
Theoretically.
not in our household. But the man can't take on the responsibility of giving birth, and he can't really be a mother. I just think that
Yes.
I just
When you're
just
talking
think
about this,
that's
I'm suddenly seeing these two bishops a couple. They're not a couple. They are
not a
married,
couple.
but to different people.
um, I'm just saying that I just think it is different being a woman than being a man. And even
True.
if you want to say, oh well, the man can have the responsibility in a household, it in reality it doesn't work like that, because children respond in different ways to different parents and stuff like that. So I think it kind of almost always ends up with a woman taking on a lot of those responsibilities in the household. So I think if you've got a family and you're trying to take on the position of being a woman priest, I feel like, well, all I can speak for is myself. Like, if I was trying to do that job, I would find it really, really difficult. I would be constantly be challenged in trying to find the time to devote to the ministry. And I think you
True.
really do need time. You need to be able to
Yeah. So
kind of.
yours is a sort. You have a sort of practical
It's a very
objection.
it's a very
Whereas,
practical objection.
yeah. I mean, I was talking about what's in the Bible. There is a distinction that some people make between bishops and other leaders, in that the bishop has sort of an overall authority, sort of like a figurehead. And in the Bible, there seems to be a treatment. We won't go into the passages in depth now, but there seems to be a difference in treatment with someone who is the overall head and people who just have certain areas of responsibility. And so they make a distinction about bishops. Some people
But
don't like
yeah,
having women priests or
but I
pastors at
think
all
it depends really what
because of
the
what it
job
says in the
is.
Bible.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I get that, and I haven't really looked at those passages in great detail to see are they in a cultural context, or are they
yeah.
specifically saying, oh,
Well,
women
I
shouldn't
mean,
do that job?
yes.
But
I mean,
but
I arrived at at a point. I mean, I could be wrong because I know this is controversial. That actually, women in leadership is allowed in the Bible, and that Jesus was encouraging, particularly women to, particularly one woman, Mary, who sat at his feet and learned. It was the way they learned in order to teach the Bible. It seems to be in context. Jesus and then the Apostle
yeah.
Paul was trying to encourage people. As to how I get to that, well, that will maybe take we haven't got long enough in this
But
particular
but
podcast episode.
yeah,
But maybe we
but
could go to that.
Jesus
But
was
that's my position.
yeah.
But that doesn't mean that there need to be women, that it's allowing women bishops. I think there's a slight distinction to be
Yeah,
made there.
I mean, I think that there were women leaders in the churches, or
Sure.
there were I can't remember the names of the woman who sold purple cloth, for example, who had
Yeah.
a church in her home. There clearly were women in those strong positions, and women can do a very good job at that. But what I'm
Yes.
thinking is that if this job as a bishop or surrogate bishop, if it depends what type of role it really is.
Suffragette.
If it's Sorry, is it not suffragette?
No, suffragette. You said something slightly different.
So
Right?
what was I
Actually, I can't
saying?
even remember what you said now, but it didn't sound quite right. Anyway, yeah, go on, sorry.
I think a suffragette bishop might be
Oh,
quite interesting.
that would be
But
interesting. Throwing yourself in front of the king's horse and all that. Yeah,
but it depends what the role is. So some women could do some roles better. It depends what you need the person to be
yeah.
able to
And
do, really.
this is
And also, and
sorry.
she's all, some of my practical concerns. If she's older, those practical concerns sort of go out the window because they're no longer relevant. That she
Yeah,
clearly
yeah.
is older than I am and doesn't have small children running around. So
I can't remember how old she is. No, I think she's older than you are. She's about my age,
yeah,
so not by much. I think, yeah, just so I think there are churches where women are not allowed into this sort of leadership, to be a pastor, teacher, and the equivalent of a bishop. In some parishes, in fact, in the Church of England, it's not allowed, and other churches, they've come to a decision from studying the Bible that they're not allowed. And I respect that decision. So if I was working in another church, I would take on that position. I wouldn't be advocating for there to be women leaders. However, in my job here, I've appointed 2 curates who work with me here, so like assistant curates, and they'll go on to become vicars in their own right. So obviously, I'm actually encouraging it. I think that they're very good, and they'll be better vicars, probably better than me, but that wouldn't necessarily be too hard.
it's not hard, is it?
But I think I am encouraging it, and I do think that women should be in leadership at that level. And the Church of England has made that decision. But if I were in another church, I respect people. I don't assume that they're being anti-women by coming to that decision. That's what I'm making. The one that I find difficult with is the Catholic or High Church objection, which is that a woman as a priest can't do the job of being a priest, because in the worship needs to be representing Jesus, who was male.
No,
I don't. I mean, that's
a bit
something
of
I
a
heard
weak
from
argument, isn't it?
the High Church people, the Forward in Faith movement people in the Church of England. I'm probably misrepresenting them, so I won't. Not going to go on about that too much. I just to say that I have difficulty. I don't find that as strong an argument. But anyway, there's the new bishop.
Anyway, yeah,
Bishops,
yes, it'll be interesting.
remember
to see what
those
they're like.
faces.
Yes.
You may well
I
see
probably won't
more of them
recognise
here.
them when I see them now. I'm really rubbish
No,
at remembering faces.
yes, they might be really good photographs, and they actually look nothing like that. Let's if they're good photographs, you see, they'll make them look better than they are. We're going to do our Bible bit now. Here we are. There's some
Have a
Bible.
backup too.
Yeah, have a backup. We always have a backup. Habakkuk. Once you said it that way, you can't say it the other way. I was the one who put this verse ready to talk about. This is the bit. Let's just read the first few verses of this chapter, and we'll talk about how it applies to today, because it does, doesn't it? We'll get there. Right. I will stand. I'll start right at the verse first. We put it there. Right. I will stand at my watch and station myself on the ramparts. I will look to see what he will say to me, and what answer I am to give to this complaint. And then the Lord replied, write down the revelation and make it plain on tablets, so that a herald may run with it. For the revelation awaits at an appointed time. It speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay. See, the enemy is puffed up. His desires are not upright, but the righteous person will live by his faithfulness. Indeed, why betrays him? He is arrogant and never at rest, because he is as greedy as the grave, and like death is never satisfied. He gathers to himself all the nations and takes captive all the peoples. Right, so that's the passage there. So this verse is interesting, because you see that verse there. I wonder if it has the reference here. If I click here, what does it say? Does it say? Oh, it just says all by faith.
It says all by faith, yeah, all faith.
Right. I was wondering whether it was going to do the reference to Romans, but it doesn't. The Apostle Paul, writing to the Romans, says the same thing. He's quoting this, that the righteous will live by faith, but the righteous will live by faith. It's interesting here. It says by his faithfulness. Now the question is, when it comes to this prophecy, Paul in the New Testament is saying, look, this is now available to you. The righteous person, the just shall live by faith. The just being the righteous, same meaning. Shall live by faith. But here it's translated faithfulness. And that's really what it is. It's going on trusting. So it's not that you once believed or that you said a prayer once. It's that you go on believing. But there is another part to it as well. Is it his faithfulness or is it Jesus's faithfulness that we live by? Because Jesus was completely faithful. So there's a whole mixture of meanings all in that phrase as quoted by the Apostle Paul. It's interesting, isn't it? That prophecy applied then. I would say it applies now, but what is that right? Do you remember that verse there?
I remember the verse in Romans, if that's where it's from.
Yes.
But I trust you on that. But I was thinking, what in Habakkuk, what was this referring to? The enemy. Was that the Babylonians coming in, or?
Well, I think yes. I think that's right. Yes, and that he could see them coming. So when he said here at the start, write down the revelation, make it plain on tablets so that the herald may run with it, that was literally true. And when you see the enemy, you could actually tell people, but you had to trust God and you would be safe. Now, if you apply that to Jesus, you trust him and you're safe. And we could go on to say Jesus told the people literally the same thing as this. Look out for the enemy coming. You have to be ready because he's, all these things. He's greedy as the grave and he gathers all the nations. He's taking people captive, all that. The Romans in Jesus' time were doing that. And Jesus was saying, well, trust me. And when you see them coming, you've got to do what I say.
So you're referring to is it Mark 13 or?
Well, in Mark chapter 13, and it's Matthew chapter 24 as well, it talks about what you should do when you see this threat coming. This, as in Mark's Gospel, Mark chapter 13, it talks about the desolation that will be in the temple. Let the reader understand. And we can tell because there's a parallel passage in Luke chapter 21. What was meant was the Roman soldiers, and they encircled the city and so around the temple, which was in the city. And when they saw those people coming, they were told to run. In fact, in Mark's Gospel, Matthew's Gospel, you see them told not only do you run straight away, and if you're on the rooftop, just run, because in those days they had flat roofs, so you could run out of the city across the roofs. But you left all your stuff behind, but you had to just go. So
I think it's interesting, isn't it? But both those passages say like just going to scroll up a little bit on that the verse where it says, the herald so the herald may run with it, and then in that passage in Mark it says like basically run, and so that fits in nicely with the concept that running gives you longer life expectancy.
I see what you did there. Yes, now that is true. I just wanted that is true. It may be that it wasn't in mind in this. It's certainly which running shoes. Well, Scripture is silent on which running shoes to wear. But
you seem to be saying that you thought this was quite relevant.
Well, I thought it was relevant today because I think that there is an enemy, like a spiritual enemy against us. But I see it actually being lived out. I can't quite see who it is, just as this person. You need a revelation. I need to know. The herald might have to run and tell me. He's waiting for the appointed time, and he's going to tell you the end's coming or something bad's going to happen. The day is coming, and it feels like something bad has happened or is about to happen. The response to the coronavirus epidemic that has been so over the top and has had strange features to it. It seems to point to me that our leaders, I spoke about a bit earlier about bishops, it's important who your leaders are. Our political leaders and leaders in countries across the world are either very, very ignorant or they're doing something very underhand to gain more control over the population. And maybe he's causing harm to them. Certainly their actions this could be by accident, have caused harm. And I would say, well, let's watch out. Who is this enemy who is arrogant, who's greedy, is never satisfied? I don't think, gathering all the nations.
All the
nations are all doing the same thing. And the peoples are held captive for some time, literally in their homes.
Literally captive, like the lockdown was like literally captive. It's funny, I was just, I've just ordered that book, actually.
Tell us about what book is it?
State of Fear by Laura Dodsworth. Because,
let me just see if what you say about it.
Because she's talking about how the government and all the different committees and stuff like that, people like Sage and all the other things, they kind of made people fearful, deliberately made people fearful, so that they would basically do kind of what they were told to do, and how kind of damaging that was, and how being locked down as well was incredibly damaging, being held captive. She has some stories about different people's reaction to that and how it had personally affected them. So anyway, I haven't read the book, obviously. I just heard her talking about it.
Yes. So here's I was looking at it on Amazon earlier. So here you have. I think you got it there.
Yeah.
So you could maybe if I make it a bit.
So how the UK government weaponized fear during the COVID pandemic. And it was like they made it like sound like it was like some sort of war situation or something like that. But they've taken sort of, like you're saying, more and more control of different things. So people are still kind of living in this state of fear and being compliant because they're fearful.
Now it says here, in the third paragraph, ahead of any official inquiry into the handling of the COVID-19 pandemic, because there is meant to be a full inquiry going to be happening. I've heard it referred to.
Yes, she's interviewed quite a few people involved in this. So,
but the important thing is we have it. She's interviewed psychologists.
Yes, but there were psychologists on these government committees. That was interesting.
Yeah, part of the planning. The fear was deliberate. So state of fear it's quite a good name for it, because we're held in a state of fear. And I don't know, of course, whether this prophecy refers to now. It was true at the time, but is it referred to now? Is there something bad going on? You see, not necessarily, in fact, likely not the fault of our actual national politicians. It could be something to do with the big companies involved who are making money out of this. It could be other countries influenced, manipulating us. A big country like China, for example. I don't know. I don't have any special insight. But I think that the important thing about this Bible verse, this is that, look, all this is the reason that this has been put about is this. The enemy is puffed up. There's all the greediness going on. But the righteous person will live by his faithfulness.
Yes.
So as long as you're trusting in God, you're going to live through this. And actually, even in the old phrase, even though you die, yet shall you live, because trusting Jesus, you can go through death and get out through the other side. So, but the righteous person will live by his faith. So, the messages for today, I don't know exactly what's going on, but I know that this is true. So,
I mean, I think that's what I've
to take to heart.
What I've felt through this whole thing is that, there have been times when I've been worried about this or that aspect of this whole thing. But, I just think if we trust in God, everything will be okay. We've got a God who's in control, a God who can, create the whole world. He can look after us. So we don't really need to worry about, anything, really. But we just need to continue to be faithful, continue to try to do what he wants us to do. I think it doesn't mean necessarily things will be easy. I mean, we might go through difficult times, but we've got God by our side in those difficult times. So, hey, does it really matter? I'm sure it will be okay.
Yes. Amen. Catch you next week.